Hello, it's really great and exciting to be with you. I've not been to MazeCon before, but I believe I've got about 20 minutes just to run through my presentation. And I hope to tell you a little bit about Lancaster University, a little bit about our journey with MazeMap, which has been a really positive one, and also to share with you some of the ways that we found we've been able to use the product, and hopefully that'll give you some inspiration for how you can use it as well. So without further ado, let's go. I'll start my timer and make sure I don't go over time. There you go. Lancaster University, we're a top 10 UK university. We have about 17,000 students, and they're split between quite a wide range of international backgrounds. So we have a number of international students that come across and study on our beautiful campus. We have around 3,000 staff. We have a campus here in Lancaster, but we also have a number of different international partnerships, so Ghana, China, Malaysia and Germany. So we are quite an international university. I think the phrase that often gets talked about when we talk about Lancaster, or when people talk about us, is that we punch well above our weight. So #1 in the Northwest, number 10 in the UK. In 2018, we were the University of the Year from the sort of well over 100 universities here in the UK. And then this year, we were also awarded the International University of the Year as well. We've got a strong culture of innovation here, and my role at Lancaster is leading a team of developers and trying to do innovative products and services. We run our mobile app, which we call iLancaster, and we're currently in the process of rewriting a new version of that, which is written by our development team on iOS and Android. And we also very much have a culture of innovation, so looking towards new opportunities. And that's really where we came to MazeMap, because there was a kind of gap in our market for navigation and mapping. Lancaster itself is about an hour away from Manchester, so people who don't, sort of know how to locate us in the UK can place it. And we're around 45 minutes away from the beautiful Lake District, and I've just included a little picture there to make you all envious, although I know where MazeMap are based is also a very beautiful part of the world. But one of the reasons people come to Lancaster is because we're the gateway to the kind of English lakes with rolling hills and beautiful scenery. My plan for this 20 minutes is really to tell you a little bit about our team, because I think there's some lessons there about how we develop and build on software that we buy, software like MazeMap, which we're talking about today. I think we found some real key principles for how to use MazeMap. That's just my opinion, and I'm not a MazeMap member of staff or a technical expert, so there may be even more things that I've missed. But to me, there's some kind of key lessons that I want to draw out there. And then I want to show you a few examples of how, within a relatively short space of time, we're using the product, and hopefully they'll give you some ideas. And then talk a little bit about some of our ideas of how we might use it in the future. So I hope that that works. One of the things we do is we work with our students. So being a university, we have a whole bunch of very capable, very keen, very diverse set of students. And I think it's appropriate to use them to actually, so the students, they write code, they do design, they do testing, they do all of the jobs that you would find in a development team. And this is just a picture of some of them. So we have 3 full-time developers, but we have a whole bunch of part-time students. And really, they're a super resource for us. We've got a huge workforce that we can draw on. They will not build things that they know are going to not be useful for students. They will give you great feedback. They will tell you in no uncertain terms if they think that things aren't going to work. It's like having your own focus group that you can tap into all of the time. If they think that something is rubbish, they will tell you. And I always encourage, when I talk to other universities and other people who are building software, to use your customers, to use your resources, whether they be students, whether they be apprentices, young people, people using the products. You can actually get them involved in the development cycle, and that's very much what we do. Just to say a few more words about how we actually involve the wider student body, and I think there's some lessons here. We try and involve them in a whole bunch of different ways. So talking to them throughout the product. So as we were launching MazeMap, as we were writing screens, as we were integrating data, we had a whole bunch of beta testers where we would send them new code and new releases. We would say, do you like this? Is it useful? We would send them out around the campus and say, go and find this particular building and then tell us if you get lost or if you went on the most appropriate route. We also use things like our service support desk to gather issues and to feed those into new releases of the product. And we involve the students in the design process. So we give them, for example, 3 or 4 different ways of laying out some information on the map. And then we say to them, which one do you kind of want to choose? We also run focus groups. We have representatives from the student union on our product development boards so that we can say to them, is this appropriate for students? Is this diverse enough? Is this what you want? And we make use of things like surveys where we go out. We've got a group of over 3,000 students that regularly respond to our surveys. So putting out simple questions: do you like the stuff that we're doing? Do you have issues, navigating, getting around the campus, using the tools that we're doing in MazeMap? And also, just finally, students, don't always communicate in the ways that we expect. They quite like their Instagrams and their Twitters and their social media, and so we try and sit on the social media platforms as well. And you can bet your life that if something's going wrong or there's something they don't like, they'll be talking about it on social media. And so we try to monitor those particular channels as well. And I'd really encourage, other customers and even, MazeMap themselves. This is a really good way of actually having that dialogue and making sure that what you're delivering is really great. So that's firstly a little bit about our team, and hopefully there could be some lessons in there for you. Next, these are my key principles for using MazeMap, in my opinion. And here's the first one. It doesn't just stop at your front gates. I think when we first embarked on implementing a kind of what would be seen as a mapping and routing tool, we very much envisaged that we drew a line around the campus. We were importing our campus buildings, and we were going to allow people to navigate and route, and that was it. It stopped at the front gates, the picture which you can hopefully see there. But actually, no, it's much more than that. Inside the platform, you can go outside the boundaries of your campus, and I'll show you in the examples how we've done that with things like bus timetables, being able to bring people from the city centre of Lancaster and show them how they can take public transport and kind of come into the campus as well. So that's the first principle. The second one is along the same theme, but maybe just slightly different. It's a lot more than just a map. So we rapidly discovered that there's a great set of APIs that you can use there to talk to the mapping solution, the mapping platform. That's why I've got a picture of a platform there. And we've used that in a whole variety of different ways. So yes, you can interactively go to the map, you can see things, you can overlay things, you can do routing, but you can also imagine the MazeMap solution as a platform. You can ask it questions and say, what is the capacity of this room? You can talk to the APIs and look at how rooms are organized together to show, for example, which rooms are in a particular building. And you can start to use that to link data together, much as we were talking about in the introductory session as well. And the other thing is it's super flexible. So many people and many other universities that use the product kind of deploy it on their campus website, and they have a nice map and you can do navigation. But there's so much more that we found you're able to do. So I will show you in a moment, plugging it into other apps and frameworks, using the APIs in kind of new and exciting ways. And I think the way that we approached that once we knew about the product was to actually start with the problem, if you like, start with the user stories, and just imagine that the platform could do what we needed and investigate how that would work. So I think very much changing mindset. So there's the kind of three key points. And the next thing I'd like to do is just move on and show you a few different examples which hopefully highlight how we've used MazeMap. So this is an example of how we've used bus information. So I was talking about going outside the campus. You can see on the little video that's playing on the left-hand side of the screen. I was using this from my home last night whilst I was tweaking my presentation. So it's outside the campus boundary, but it's been able to show me my bus stop. I've hit the little buses icon on the left-hand side. Now, when I tried it, it was in fact the middle of the night, so there wasn't any buses. But had there been, and you can see from the screenshot on the right-hand side, it's able to pop up live information. It can show you the buses that are going to come at that stop and whether they're running on time or not. And you can see there that that's deployed inside our new app, which is custom written for iOS and Android. And it doesn't just do buses to campus, it links to live bus information and times for Lancaster and the whole surrounding area, and quite a kind of reach there. So I think that's an example of how not only you can integrate it into your own app code, but how you can go outside the boundary of the campus and use that to overlay other information that you have. Next example is on the subject of overlaying information onto the map and doing that in kind of creative and flexible ways. So actually, when we started with MazeMap, we used the point of interest feature to start to put on things like parking zones. And you can see on the picture of the left, there's a little P symbol for one of our parking zones, and we've applied some coloring there as well to try and make things easier. But what you can do is go a lot further than that and start to show live information. So again, this is inside our app, and the user here has clicked on the laundry button, the little blue icon that is selected at the top. And what that's done is it has switched on all of the campus laundries. They have clicked on one of those, and they're able to see both a description of what the laundry does, but then when they click on availability, which they have, they can see live information. So in this case, there's 6 washers that are free and 8 dryers that are free. And in fact, we can go further than that, and we can show things like how much longer a washing machine has got to go. And that's quite important to students because they like to put their washing on, disappear and go and do something else, and then come back. And we're making that really super easy to do. We've done that with laundry, and we've also done that with computer availability. So if you go into one of our computer lab spaces, you can easily see how many computers are free. And actually in the library, we've started to overlay specific individual computers so that you can navigate to a free desk, and that's proving really popular. Or at least when we all come back after the COVID world, students will be using that. Another example of how we've used MazeMap in perhaps a slightly different way. So this is in our current mobile app, which is provided by a third-party company, but we've done some integration. This is a product by a company called Ex Libris. We really wanted students to have the mapping and navigation absolutely front and center where they needed it. And the screenshots on the right here are showing you what we call our academic hub. So students on the extreme right there are seeing all of the sessions that they need to attend in that day. So they're their lecture sessions or a tutorial session. And when they click into that, which they are required to do because they have to check in and tell us whether they went there or not, it gives them this really nice little embedded MazeMap section, which you can see there on the left-hand picture. And that allows them to route from their current location, which it picks up, to their lecture. And this has really meant that the usage of MazeMap has gone up significantly because students were really using this, especially in intro week and in the first few weeks of term where the students really kind of don't know their way around campus. And in fact, looking at the stats, when we kind of first launched this at the start of term, we were seeing rates of over sort of 30,000 interactions across the platform per day at the start of term, which is really quite a significant usage to the students. This example is digital twins. Digital twins is a piece of work that we did where we started to use building data overlaid onto the maps to display current building conditions. So in our case, temperature and occupancy, and actually to start to be able to write back information as well. So here we can see one of our buildings, and the users can select a location that they're interested in. And they can display things like the current temperature in the room, and they can see whether the room is occupied or not with an icon, and they can also give feedback and say it's too hot, it's too cold, I'd like to make a change. And actually based on that, and just by clicking in the map and navigating the app, they can then make a control input. So we can do things like if the building is overall too cold, we can then kind of warm it up again. So they're just a few examples of, I think, how we've managed to lever the platform in perhaps new and interesting ways. I'll just finish by giving you some future ideas of how we see that working. So we've already demonstrated the ability to talk back to some of our heating and room controls. We'd like to roll that out to give live control of the utilities, not only for staff in the building, but other authorized users. So there's a lot of interest from our facilities department in being able to do building control through the app, and we see some of the MazeMap mapping as being really key to doing that. We're also looking at a separate feature for our facilities team so they can see a different layered version of the map, because they need to know where cables are routed and pipes are and things like that, which perhaps the main users don't. So you're looking at different profiles for using that. We're also integrating with our voice service for voice navigation. So we've already done this. And when you go to the main campus website and perform a search, you can say things like, where is the Great Hall? Where is this specific place on campus? And via a search result and using the MazeMap APIs, it will discover where you want to go to through MazeMap, and it will feed that back as a search result, which you can then click and kind of go into the map. And we want to roll that out to our voice service. So that as well as giving you information that you can use on your screen, it will actually read you the directions and you can perform a kind of turn-by-turn navigation there. We're involved in a project that's looking at occupancy data and person density. One of the things that's even more important now coming out of the kind of COVID and pandemic world is understanding how people are moving around. We have some of that data, and again, MazeMap is a great platform that we hope to be able to overlay that. We're looking at color coding different routes and providing hotspot information as to where people are, and also looking at booking systems. So it looks like we'll be going into a world with a lot more hot desking and remote working, and we're looking at how we can do that to show which desks are free and to allow people to kind of book slots. So hopefully I've delivered what I said in the session. I've given you some information about our team. I've given you hopefully some of the key principles that I think apply. Certainly thinking about MazeMap is much more of a platform and much less of a map, which we found really useful. And hopefully some of those demos that I've showed you there and some of those screenshots might just give you some ideas on how you can use that platform as well.